Hi everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into Safety Shot Inc.'s latest filing, and let me tell you, it looks like things are really fizzing up for them, or maybe just making a lot of noise. So what we have here is a current report, basically a quick update from Safety Shot Inc. to let everyone know what's going on. Think of it like the company sending out a press release, but in a much more official SEC approved way. This particular report talks about some pretty significant deals they've made, and it all happened pretty fast. The main story here is about raising money, which is pretty standard for companies, especially those looking to grow. Safety Shot Inc. closed on two big deals on August 29, 2025. One was a registered direct offering and the other was a private placement. Let's break down the first part, the registered direct offering. This means they sold shares of their common stock directly to investors. They sold over 9 million shares, which they call RD shares, at a price of $45 million before they paid any of the fees and expenses associated with the sale. This sort of offering is generally done when a company wants to sell shares that are already registered and ready to be traded, making it a bit quicker than certain other methods. These shares were actually part of a registration statement that was filed quite a while ago, back in 2022, and became effective later that year. They then filed an update to this registration, a prospectus supplement, in August of 2025, which is when these shares were actually sold. So while the deal closed at the end of August, the paperwork process for these specific shares started much earlier. Then alongside that, they did what's called a private placement, which they're calling the PIPE offering. In this deal, they sold a much larger number of shares, over 51 million shares, to a single investor. This investor paid 0.481155 for each share. Now here's where it gets really interesting. This PIPE investor didn't pay with regular dollars, they paid with BONK tokens. Yes, the cryptocurrency. The amount of tokens was calculated based on the price of BONK on a specific day before the deal closed. This is a pretty bold move, essentially accepting cryptocurrency as payment for a significant chunk of equity. This immediately makes you wonder about their strategy and their comfort level with digital assets. These PIPE shares weren't registered with the SEC, meaning they weren't offered to the general public. Instead, they're being sold under exemptions that allow for private sales, usually to sophisticated investors who are deemed capable of evaluating the risks. This is common for private placements. So putting it all together, the total amount raised from both these offerings before any fees is about $29.25 million in actual cash from the direct offering and $25 million worth of BONK tokens from the private placement. That's a substantial amount of capital, especially when a good portion of it comes from a crypto transaction. And what will they do with this money? Like many companies, they plan to use it for working capital, which means day-to-day operational expenses, and general corporate purposes, which basically means whatever they need it for to run the business. Let's look at how their stock and warrants are listed. Their common stock with the ticker symbol SHOT is traded on the Nasdaq Stock Market LLC, specifically in what's called the Nasdaq Capital Market. They also have warrants, which are like options that give people the right to buy their common stock at a certain price. In this case, these warrants are exercisable for one share of common stock at 8.5 per share. These also trade on the Nasdaq Capital Market under the ticker SHOTW. Now, an important detail about Safety Shot Inc. is that they are classified as an emerging growth company. This is a status given by the SEC to companies that have less than a certain amount of annual gross revenue. It means they get to follow some relaxed reporting rules compared to bigger, more established companies. It suggests they are still in a growth phase. This section just lists the documents that are included with this filing. One of the key exhibits is the actual agreement they signed for these deals. This is where all the nitty-gritty details about the sale are laid out. And finally, the signature section. This is where the company officially confirms that the information in the report is accurate to the best of their knowledge. It's signed by Jarrett Boone, who's the Chief Executive Officer. So what's the big picture here? Safety Shot Inc. has successfully raised a significant amount of money through a combination of stock sales and a very notable crypto-funded private placement. This shows they are actively seeking capital to fuel their operations. The use of BONK tokens is a big statement, indicating a willingness to embrace new financial tools and perhaps a belief in the value of digital assets. However, accepting a volatile asset like cryptocurrency as payment for such a substantial amount also introduces its own set of risks. The company is still in its early stages as an emerging growth company, and these funds will be crucial for their next steps. From a Warren Buffett perspective, when we look at a company Raising capital, we ask if it's being used wisely to build value. The intention for working capital and general corporate purposes is standard, but the success will depend on the execution. The fact that they secured a $25 million payment in BONK tokens suggests a certain level of trust or confidence in that digital asset, or perhaps a strategic relationship with the investor. It's a bold move that could pay off significantly if BONK's value increases, or it could become a liability if it drops. The share price for these offerings on whether they can convert this capital into profitable operations and growth before needing to raise more money, especially considering the warrants that allow people to buy stock at 8.5 tokens suggest a significant jump from the current offering prices. My take on Safety Shot Inc. right now is that they are in a high risk, potentially high reward phase. The capital raise is positive, but the reliance on a cryptocurrency payment for a large portion of it is a significant factor to watch. It's a gamble that could bring substantial returns or significant losses depending on how the BONK token performs and how effectively the company deploys the capital raised. We need to keep an eye on their future financial reports to see if this infusion of capital translates into tangible business improvements and profitability. Alright, that's our breakdown of Safety Shot's latest filing. What's your take on this crypto-funded capital raise and what it signals for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps us out, and make sure you subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings. Don't forget to check out our Discord community, linked in the description, where we discuss these kinds of insights and more. Thanks for watching and see you next time.